The Pope is dead. Who will take his place? Let's talk about it.
The Pope is dead. The throne is vacant.
The conclave begins now.
I guess all I can say to start this review is, oh damn, because Conclave was greater than I was expecting. You know, I was expecting a good time because it did premiere at some film festivals in the fall and all that, and it did open up to some great praise, but it is really, really great. It's probably one of my favorites of this year. It's strikingly gripping in all the best ways possible, and I was so locked into this movie that I hardly ate any of my popcorn or drank any of my drink. I usually get like a large popcorn, large drink, especially for today since I was doing a double feature with Venom: The Last Dance and then this, which is such an odd double feature, but I still did do it, and I didn't even eat hardly any of my popcorn. I didn't even notice halfway into the movie or so. I was so locked into this that I didn't have my back to my seat. I was just leaning in the whole time because it is a very engrossing movie, and you have new information coming in every single second, but it just keeps you so locked in. That's how great it was. And after coming off 4 Oscar wins for All Quiet on the Western Front, Edward Berger is back in the director's chair, and I have to stop underestimating this man because he has done it once again. He's turned in such a great film with some direction that is very meticulous, and everything kind of feels like a chess piece slowly falling into place. You think approaching this movie, it would seem boring and slow. It seemed kind of weird because it is rated PG. Like, imagine like a 10-year-old kid going up to the person at the desk and being like, "Can I get a ticket for Conclave, please?" And they're like, okay. Like, it's weird, it's PG, but it does work. And, you know, it would seem weird that it's 2 hours about like the death of a pope and the voting for a new pope. Like, you'd think it seemed boring, but Berger has such a great way with his direction, just like All Quiet on the Western Front. He has an elegance with it to his direction that you're just really in it. You're really into the film until it ends. You don't really care how long it is because All Quiet was like 2 hours, 30 minutes, 2 hours, 20 or something like that. But you're so into his movies because he gives you a reason to be into it. This one's no different. I really didn't feel the runtime at all. It's exactly 2 hours, I'm pretty sure. And you're just along for this ride. It's so riveting at every single point. It's written by Peter Strahan and Robert Harris, and it's definitely one of the best screenplays of the year in my eyes. It's also adapted from the book of the same name, and I also actually think it's harder to adapt a book rather than writing an original screenplay, in my opinion, because I feel like when you're adapting a book, you can't really adapt a whole book unless it's like really short, especially like Harry Potter and all that, Lord of the Rings. There's a lot to take out because there's just so much information, so much dialogue that you cannot put into that movie, and you have to choose the most important moments. And honestly, I honestly want to look up how different the book is to the movie because they actually might be really similar, because I think this book isn't that long, but I do feel like it is a lot harder to adapt a book at this point. But this is just great. Peter and Robert really made this kind of feel like a mix between 12 Angry Men and Succession, a little bit of Game of Thrones in there, which are two things that I just love so much, 12 Angry Men and Succession. And the script in Conclave just felt so fresh, and there's like so much deception going on, but it also became very entertaining. And there's something that comes out of nowhere in the end, like a little twist at the end that shocked me, and I think will shock a lot of other people when they first watch this. It also made me feel a little bit dumb, but also a little bit smart by the end, because before I went into this, I really had no information or no knowledge about the Pope or the Catholic Church itself, and I kind of felt lost in the beginning of the movie because they kind of go right into it with the Pope's death as like the first scene in the movie, and then they're like, oh, we gotta start voting for a new one, we gotta get a new Pope in there, and so you really have to start catching up with the movie and the voting process and the scheming, because if you have no knowledge like me of the Pope or the Catholic Church, you'll kind of walk into this and not know what to do or what's going on here. But then you walk out of the movie, you have a lot of new information. It doesn't hold your hand through it, but it's not difficult to really catch up with what they're trying to say. And it actually becomes really, really entertaining with the voting process and how it's done. Like, I walked out of this and I'm like, damn, that is really interesting. The votes on this, like, I don't want to really to explain it all in this video because it is kind of fun to go in with no knowledge at all, but I really just took a lot of information away from this one. Ray Fiennes easily stole the show as the lead here. I've always believed that Fiennes is one of the most underrated actors working today, and it's weird because you don't really see him that often, especially in bigger movies. Like, the last big movie that he was in was, of course, The Menu, which didn't really make a lot of big splash at the box office. I mean, it did great on streaming, but didn't really make a lot of the box office, didn't really have any Oscar nominations, He was also in the Kingsman movies. But I always, remember Fiennes as Voldemort. That's who I grew up with seeing him but there's a lot of great performances from him. And I think here as Lawrence is no different. It's one of his best performances yet. And I'm 100% honest. I will think he will get an Oscar nomination for this. Not sure if he'll win, but I really do think he just deserves that nomination. He was brilliant here. There's lots of supporting performances on screen, but most of them don't have a lot of screen time, except for like Stanley Tucci, John Lithgow, who are both great, but this film relies heavily on Fiennes and his stature here, and he really carries the film, but their supporting performances are nice to see. Volker Bertelmann composed the score for this one, and he was also responsible for doing the score for All Quiet on the Western Front, which shouldn't have won over Babylon for best score of that year. I still think that's a robbery, but this score in Conclave is also brilliant by him. The main theme leaves such a big impact on you. I loved how deep it hits you because of how loud it was at times. It really comes out of nowhere at times, but it works so well. Let's talk about some Oscar chances. Right now, I think it's about to get 7 nominations. I'd say Best Actor for Ralph Fiennes. As I said, he's brilliant here. Gives one of his best performances to date. Best Score, as I said, that score really does leave a huge impact on you. That main theme would just go really hard hearing at the Oscars. Best Director, maybe. I'm not sure if I still have Edward Berger like in top 5 or not, but he's like kind of dipping out between 5 or 6 in that realm. It's of course going to get in the Best Picture if we have 10 nominations. I think it's definitely going to get one. Adapted Screenplay, as I said, one of the best screenplays of the year. Editing, I think, is also a very strong chance. The editing in here is masterful, keeps you locked in. Cinematography is one that I don't know if it could get in, but there's some great shots here. I really did love how they shot this one. Some other ones, maybe it could get production design, costume design, but I just don't see this happening. So right now I have it getting 7 nominations. Overall, Conclave is strikingly gripping and crafted so meticulously by Edward Berger. I was on the edge of my seat and leaning in the whole movie just because of how riveting and masterful the script was, and Ralph Fiennes delivers one of his best performances to date. I'm going to give Conclave a strong 8.5 out of 10. If you saw it, make sure to leave your thoughts down below. I'd love to discuss it with you. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy my review, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.